Welcome to the City of Glendale's Arts and Culture Commission meeting for July 18th, 2019. May I have roll call, please?
Commissioners Oshigan?
Yes.
Tufenkian?
Yes.
Chairperson Vidor?
Yes.
For the record, Vice Chair Zadorian is not present. The agenda for the July 18th meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on July 15th, 2019.
Next item, please.
Item 2, consent items. At 2A, approval of regular meeting minutes from May 16th, 2019.
Does anyone have any additions or corrections to the regular meeting minutes?
I think it looks good.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Commissioners Oshigan?
Yes.
Tufenkian?
Yes.
Chairperson Vidor?
Yes.
Item 2AB, approval of special meeting minutes from May 16th, 2019.
Anyone? I have one item, item 2A1 on bullet point number 5. It says, who stated that the media would not be a good, the median strip, and it doesn't say who that is who stated that. So it's obviously a she, because you said she said, but we're not sure which she it is. So if you could just fill in the name, that would be great.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve with change noted?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Commissioners Oshigan?
Yes.
Tufenkian?
Yes.
Chairperson Vidor?
Yes. Next item. Go ahead.
Item 3, introductions of presentations. At 3A, Gary Schaefer, Director, Library Arts and Culture, new staff introduction.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Just happy to make an announcement and introduce you to our new Arts and Culture Administrator. Her name is Jennifer Fukutomi Jones, formerly with Arts for LA. And if Jennifer, if you could come to the dais and just introduce yourself and say a few words.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Chair Vidor, Commissioner Tufenkian, Commissioner Oshigan. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak in front of you today. As Dr. Schaefer mentioned, my name is Jennifer Fukutomi Jones, and I'm the Arts Administrator for the City of Glendale's Library Arts and Culture Department. This is my 4th day, and I've hit the ground running. I'm very excited to begin working with each and every one of you. Prior to working here, as the Director mentioned, I worked with Arts for LA, which is the regional arts advocacy organization for LA County. I oversaw all the programmatic and civic engagement initiatives for the organization. And prior to working with that, I worked with the LA County Arts Commission, the Ford Theaters, Unusual Suspects Theater Company, and LA Opera, so very invested in the arts and culture within LA County. So I'm very excited to continue and expand your vision of Glendale as an arts destination, not only within LA County, but California and beyond. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Welcome. And welcome. It's really a pleasure to have you on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Next item. Go ahead.
Item 3B, Library Arts and Culture events, presented by Chuck Wyke, Community Relations Manager.
Good afternoon, Chair Vidor, Commissioners, City staff, and many guests today. I'll give you a brief rundown of upcoming events at the Library Arts and Culture Department. I can start with turning off the entire thing here. Here we go. Blind Courier is our current exhibition at the Brand Library, and involved with that is some work they have done really collecting recipes with the home site recipe exchange. And so on Sunday, August 11th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., there will be a community picnic, gallery tour, food trucks, kids crafts, all in that chunk of time up at Brand Library and Brand Park. Families will be able to attend for this fun day, exchange recipes, and add to the recipes actually on view at the Brand Gallery as part of the exhibition. There'll be a lot of food available at 2 p.m. Visitors can join the artists and curators of the Blind Courier exhibition for a free informative tour with well-known Los Angeles art critic and arts and culture editor for LA Weekly, Shana Nies-Dembrat. It's at Brand Library. And here's just a couple of pictures of the I believe it was the July 12th opening of that exhibition. There you go. Next, at our Reflect space at the Downtown Central Library, we had actually this one opened up on July 12th. It continues through the end of August. It's 1 in 3, Sexual Violence Pandemic. This exhibition addresses the global violence with an international cast of artists from South Korea and the U.S. It's headlined by a massive 23-foot interior mural by Leslie Labowitz-Starus, and it considers the historical sweep of this violence with works and performance addressing the Asian comfort women of World War II, the anti-sexual violence efforts of the 1970s, and the current Me Too movement. Again, it ends on August 29th. There are 2 more big events. There's I'll cut it off, Comfort Women Commemoration Day, Saturday, July 27th at 5 p.m. There's a seminar in the early afternoon. There's cultural programs and commemorations at 5 o'clock. And then at 7 o'clock, there's performance artist Han Ho. Also in this programming, this would be August 8th. Actually, there's a panel discussion. There we are. Panel discussion Thursday, August 8th at 7 p.m. with author Vivian Fried, artist Leslie Labowitz-Starus, and Suzanne Lacey. Next up at the library, well, up until the middle of August, we have summer reading, not just for children, but for adults, for teens. Teens can actually get some community service hours by attending some events. We always have a lively series of programs at all of our libraries. We have free lunches in conjunction with the Glendale School District. They run through August 16th at the Downtown Central Library and at the Grandview Library. Again, free lunches for any child under 18. Again, lots of live performances, music, marionettes. We actually just finished a big program, an all-day program with JPL in commemoration of the first walk on the moon. This is last year's Dia de los Muertos festival at one of our branches, very colorful. I bring this up because this initiative is sponsored by the Glendale City Clerk and Election Services. The library is on board to help out. We will likely have art, music. They'll spread some of that up to Artsock Plaza just like they did last year. They had a very big turnout. It was a lot of fun for the entire family and a very different kind of way for the city clerk in particular to attract residents and voters or potential voters to come to Glendale and partake.
What's the approximate date on that?
I'm sorry, that's November 2nd. So this is a long ways off. Not so long way off is this Saturday's July 20th cruise night. I bring this up because, again, there is, right now, besides all these great cars, there's also a number of musical performances. This is put on by the Parks Department. It goes from 5:30 to 10:30. The library department will be there promoting summer reading, our maker space, our sound space, and all our activities. I hope the community will turn out like they always do, like you see in these pictures, for cruise night this Saturday. And finally, on Monday, October 7th at 7 p.m. at the Downtown Central Library main floor, you can join our Glendale Library Arts and Culture Director, Gary Schaefer, in conversation with acclaimed author Susan Orlean as they discuss her national bestseller and the library's One Book, One Glendale selection, The Library Book. It's often called a delightful love letter to public libraries and even to librarians. It's the story of one library, the main library at downtown LA that had a massive fire in 1986. The reviewers say it reminds readers of the spirit of them all of these librarians, their mission to welcome and equalize and inform the wonderful depths and the potential that they, and maybe all of us as well, contain. Susan Orlean has been a staff writer with The New Yorker since 1992. She's the author of 7 books, including Rin Tin Tin, Saturday Night, and The Orchid Thief, which was made into the Academy Award-winning film adaptation. That concludes my part of the report.
And I might just add that it's thanks to the Brand Associates and their members for connecting us with Ms. Orlean to get her to the Central Library on that evening. So thanks to them.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's great. I'll just say that I've read the library book, and if any of you haven't read it yet, it is absolutely wonderful. And I can't imagine a more delightful read if you're an Angelino, Glendalian, and a library lover.
And thank you for those kind words. It will be the one book everyone's talking about because it's the one book everyone in Glendale will be reading. So, and if you might indulge me for a second, and it's probably not lost on anyone in the room that there is construction going on downstairs, and so we will just have to work our way through that.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, so people didn't think we were tapping our feet under the table. Okay, so I think next item is up.
Item 4, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not on this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. The commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The commission may refer the matter to city staff for investigation and report.
Okay, I have one card, Jennifer Hiramoto. Come on up. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. It is an honor to be standing before you, in part because I haven't been standing in a while, so this is great. So as you know, one of the very fun projects that the Economic Development Division undertakes is Glendale Tech Week, and that is now in its 4th year. It's scheduled for September 14th through the 21st. This has really evolved. What started off as just an experiment has now turned into an event that last year attracted more than 3,500 people and more than 35 pop-ups, and very much a community effort. This year, with the help of our division, and Juan Gonzalez alone has helped coordinate more than 50 events in downtown, hosted by community groups, schools, the city, and hopefully local artists. I know that early on that was one of our hopes in engaging with the commission. Recently, one such artist reached out to us through a referral actually from the Brand Library. And one of the questions that we've had during Tech Week is how do we engage the entire city and really try to activate and celebrate the innovation and technology that's happening throughout the city. The artists, Laura Darlington and Selwa Sweden, are looking to host an exhibition, performances, and screenings and panel of pioneering female identifying artists and technologists from local institutions and labs, as well as a community building workshop led by women bridging arts and technology audiences. It's my understanding that they will be coming before the commission in August and looking for your financial support. We see this as a wonderful opportunity to tie in some of the programming of the brand to downtown, and it also seems like we can actually highlight and preview an exhibition that would be occurring in Brand during Tech Week. And we would also be able to integrate, of course, art and technology. Our department, the Economic Development Division, we have limited funds to assign to each of the pop-ups. I mentioned that we have about 50 of those. But we would like to assist with this. We've offered to fund up to $500 just in cash contribution to it, as well as providing in-kind gallery space on Artsock, which is something that I know is part of the Urban Art Program Plan. It's something that you've wanted to do as well. And then, of course, marketing support in Tech Week. So while the item is not on the agenda today, I did at least want to bring this to your attention. It is something that we've contemplated, and I know that time is of the essence as we get nearer to Tech Week. So with that, I hope that you will check out the website, GlendaleTechWeek.com, and it's certainly not too late for the Commission to make recommendations on ways in which we can get involved, and if you know of artists as well. So that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a
Yeah,
question?
I believe so.
Jennifer, if I... Yeah, I think as a commission we'll be very interested in participating in Tech Week in some way, and especially supporting artists I think we can maybe, I don't know if there's any time, but I think it's better not to leave it to happenstance where somebody approaches you, but have a process in which we can accept or we can recommend tech artists, specifically tech artists who can work with Tech Week. I think that's a fantastic idea. I think we should try to develop that in some way. I'm not sure what's possible in terms of the logistics of doing that, us and the commission and the whole process of Tech Week, but I think we should initiate that as soon as possible because we talked about it, but it has not been initiated.
So on our side, we're quite flexible. While the event is 2 months away, we are still, nothing as far as the programming has gone out, that's still been in development. So we can do a lot in 2 months. And, I've been out of commission and we would be happy to sit, at least I'd be happy to sit informally with you, with Gary, or with your new staff member. And I'm sure Dr. Schaefer has some ideas.
If Madam Chair, if you would be interested in us bringing back something next month.
Yes, usually we talk about agenda items at the end, but I think since you're here, first of all, we would look forward to the presentation, and as Commissioner O'Shagan said, we look forward to being able to support this because it's a really fascinating and important aspect of us becoming an arts destination and really celebrating arts to their fullest. So we're into that. I see 2 agenda items here. One might be for the coming Tech Week to hear the proposal and give suggestions and be involved and also provide sponsorship. And then later on, perhaps in a few meetings, we could have a more lengthy discussion about how we would be involved in this and what role we would play together as a partner on future Tech Weeks, so that's a broader agenda item. But for the first one, I think we should, 2 months goes by fast. I realize it seems like a long lead time, but we should see what is being proposed and we can discuss it publicly. And if there's a proposal, a hard proposal, this would probably be a good time to say yay or nay to that. So it would be good, I think, to have an action item come before us next week, next month, not next week. So do you all agree to that? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. How many artists do you have thus far, and how many would you want to have?
So the pop-ups right now, originally when we started hosting Tech Week, the idea was that the city itself would be the one hosting these events. And what we found is that it makes a lot more sense to partner up with organizations who already are active in this and who have committed to hosting these events and want to just simply come together for greater collaboration. As an example, we've partnered up with the Open Arts and Music Festival. That's where we are going to have we're using that as our launching pad. So as far as artist specific, I believe that this is the only one that we have, the only request that we've gotten, and I'm going to defer to Juan. Are there any other artists? No. Okay. So aside from this request and then our efforts with Open Arts and Music Festival, and there's also some very liberal elements of art. I mean, we've had robotics teams come forward and they're doing very interesting things that could be art or could simply be robotics. We've had Moms in Film. They're an organization that's based locally where they are going to host an event at Lemley Theater and do a screening. But again, that's more on the film side.
If I could add one more thing. So I think a lot of the events are happening at the library this year. And I think a natural collaboration would be with some of the art that's going to be displayed at the library. And the exhibition that's coming up in September is about Glendale Stories, with a lot of tech involved, a lot of video, and other types of projection that's going to happen. So I suggest that would be also a very natural kind of collaboration to do with Tech Week. And look forward to making that happen.
Perfect timing.
Yes.
We'll absolutely get that integrated. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Please, yes.
So Shannon,
if you could
sorry.
introduce.
I'm Nikki Winslow, Assistant Director for Library Arts and Culture, and I oversee, as part of my function, the Brand Library and Art Center. So the two artists that we're talking about approached Shannon Curie Holmes, that curates, or is the gallery supervisor over at Brand, with this idea of marrying art and tech. And Tech Week seemed like a natural partner, so that's kind of how this came about. I do agree that as we have Jennifer on staff now and we develop a website, I do see like a call for proposals related to Tech Week or other art initiatives as the process for making that happen. But we were really excited about being able to bring art into Tech Week, and that's kind of where this came from. So they do have a proposal that we'll make sure to have available to Commission to review.
Are there any other, in Tech Week, are there local, are they downtown specific plan area partners primarily, and are other cultural partners such as, well, certainly the Alex, but the Museum of Neon Art, the Lemley Theater, you mentioned film, are any of them involved in Tech Week as venues, or just curious about the scope, physical scope of Tech Week?
I mean, I know from when I counted, we have at least 14 of the events during Tech Week at Central Library.
Okay.
So I know that they partner with Capital One, and then, you want to speak to that?
Okay.
So there's really, again, this has evolved. At some point, we also looked at hosting events in Montrose, Glendale Community College, hosting events on the San Fernando Road. This year, most of the activities are focused in the downtown area. We're looking at trying to, the feedback that we've received over the years is folks really want to walk and make it as convenient as possible so they can go to as many events as possible. So for some of the other cultural institutions, it ranges. We really want to make sure that we're getting the larger office employers involved. So Service Titan, Industrious, the future WeWork is going to be here. We've also have the Hollywood Production Centers, looking at the gallery space now, the ArtsOc units on the Paseo, downtown Central Library. So, and then again, looking at during the Open Arts and Music Festival that's within the Alex. So we're very open to ideas. We've had a very collaborative spirit. So if Juan has had the pleasure of partnering up some venues that simply want to offer it up as a host, combining that with folks who have said, we want to be a speaker. Can you help us find a venue? So if you have specific ideas, we're happy to take those as well.
Okay.
And try to make it happen.
Perhaps we'll next month be able to look more specifically at the proposal and have a real, dynamic discussion about it, and then act on it.
Okay.
Right then and there. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think we're on.
If I could, Arlene, if I,
Yes.
So perhaps this agenda item could be not just accepting the proposal from that group, but any artist who may want to come up and present a proposal, such that, because we're running short on time, if we have a number of other artists who are interested in getting involved, they could present their ideas and proposals at the next meeting, and we can fund it, and they can do it in September. So
Yes.
keep that agenda item kind of wide open.
Yeah, I think we're kind of relying here on Jennifer and company to bring, whoever it's going to be, and a team of people working on it to bring a proposal, and they're going to be reaching out and trying to find the most kind of energetic, broad proposal of artists that make sense for this. So, yeah.
If artists didn't want to come forward, who would they need to
Well, that's
reach out
just
to?
it. I mean, I would assume, unless we were going to do a call, that that would be something that economic development would handle.
Madam Chair, Philip Lansfame, Director of Community Development, might have suggested it come through community arts and library arts and culture staff, and that they can pair up. The staff then from economic development is really focused on the tech end, and that's what they're geared towards. And if it's okay with Dr. Schaefer, have them funnel through Jennifer, and then Jennifer and Jennifer can hook up and bring
Yes.
something back to you.
All right.
All right.
So we're looking at a call then, and that's our partnership definition with you. Okay.
I'll leave that up to the commission and the staff to do that, and then we'll plug in with the Tech Week.
Perfect.
And
Yes.
Schaefer, sound good to you?
Sounds good. I think we definitely know we're going to have a proposal, and I think we could also look to future years as to how we can expand on that, because Tech Week is something that's going to be going on for a very long time. So, but certainly if something makes sense, we should consider it. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
It's done. It's on the agenda for next month. Okay. I think we're on to the next item.
Item 5, business agenda. At 5AA, action item, report regarding Glendale Arts Open Arts and Music Festival co-sponsorship opportunity and temporary art installation.
Chair Vidor, Commissioners, City staff, our staff respectfully recommends that the Arts and Culture Commission, 1, co-sponsor the 2019 Glendale Open Arts and Music Festival, and 2, fund a temporary public art installation at the Open Arts and Music Festival in the amount of $5,000 or another amount at the discretion of the Commission from the 2019-2020 work plan. I've given you a brief analysis of the background of the Open Arts and Music Festival that you're undoubtedly familiar with. Glendale Arts is requesting that the Arts and Culture Commission fund a temporary public art installation. The funds will help offset the cost of the artist fees, materials, transport, installation, and removal of the temporary art installation. The Arts and Culture Commission will be recognized on marketing materials. The recommended funding is $5,000. The Arts and Culture Commission has the discretion to recommend a different funding amount. There is a report from the about the Open Arts and Music Festival. Their staff is working with staff at Brand Library to put some art for one day. So it's a temporary piece.
And I believe we have a speaker from Glendale Arts to address this.
Getting to that, we're going to have a public hearing. So Jennifer Granville, would you like to speak?
Thank you. Hello, Arts and Culture Commission Chair Vidor, Commissioners, City staff, and Library staff. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. My name is Jennifer Granville, another Jennifer, and I am Special Events Manager at Glendale Arts. I'm here on behalf of Glendale Arts to request, as Chuck said, your consideration on the Commission's funding of a temporary public art piece at the Open Arts and Music Festival on September 14th of this year. Now, in its 4th year, the Open Arts and Music Festival is a free, all ages, all welcome festival with an anticipated attendance of 12,000 people over the course of the day. It takes place on the city block in front of the Alex Theatre. We work with Spaceland Presents to select an impressive lineup of emerging Los Angeles-based talent. The festival also has an arts market with free workshops, arts-related activities for children, a craft beer garden, and of course, the launch of Glendale Tech Week. This year, we're hoping to add a food area and a VIP area on the festival grounds. The one thing, however, that the festival needs is public art. Public art, as we all know, in whatever form, instills meaning, a greater sense of identity and understanding of where we live, where we work, and where we play, and it creates memorable experiences for everybody. But the festival is expensive for us to run as a small nonprofit, and quality programming is expensive. Glendale Arts is always committed to paying its artists. And it's for this reason that we are asking for the Commission's help in bringing public art to the community. Glendale Arts is requesting the Commission consider a grant in the amount of $5,000 to support a temporary public art installation at the festival. This request is co-sponsored by Shannon Curry Holmes, the exhibition supervisor at Brand Library, who's graciously agreed to curate and advise us on the public art piece. The budget of $5,000, as Chuck mentioned before, includes an artist fee, materials, transport, installation, and breakdown of the piece. As it stands now, this budget does not include traveling the piece elsewhere post-festival. If we were to receive funding from the Commission, we would acknowledge the Commission and the library in event signage, stage mentions, on the website, in press releases, and other marketing materials. And if the Commission would like on-site presence at the festival, that could also be arranged. In addition to the funding, we would like the Commission to consider other ways of being involved with the festival as a steward of public art and the arts in general in the City of Glendale. We would love the Commission to sit on the selection panel to choose an exciting artist to exhibit and promote at the festival. We would like to invite you to share this opportunity with the artists that you know. And lastly, of course, we would like for you all to join us at the festival on the day of with your friends and with your family to come enjoy it. To summarize, we think the opportunity for the Commission to present public art at the Open Arts and Music Festival represents an excellent use of the 2019-2020 work plan and aligns perfectly with our shared missions of integrating the arts into the daily lives of the people of Glendale and beyond. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Questions,
Thank you.
Anybody?
Yes.
Or comments? Go ahead.
So the artist has not been selected yet?
No, it has not.
Okay.
She has not, no.
Okay. And the art piece would be located where? Is there
On the festival grounds, probably on the northwest corner of Brand Boulevard near California.
Okay. And would it stay there for a week, 2 weeks, or?
The entirety of the day. It's one day
just
only.
a one-day
So
thing.
We shut the city block in front of the Alex Theater down. We mount a main stage. We put up close to 100 booths, and so it would be part of that whole.
So it'd only be for the duration of the festival?
That's correct, yeah.
I want to thank you, Jennifer, for coming. It's easy to remember your name because
They're all around.
and I like this proposal very much for several reasons. One of them being that Open Arts Festival is an important art festival for Glendale. It's taken kind of an important place in our arts landscape. Plus the fact that there is inclusion that is proposed by the Commission, because earlier proposals by other groups have been give us the money and we'll do it. So I really appreciate that, as well as I appreciate the fact that there's an arts professional involved in the process outside of the organizing structure. So I think it's a really good proposal. Thank you for bringing it to us. And so this is during the first day of Tech Week, or is this like Tech Week starts
Correct.
the day after? First day of Tech Week?
Yeah, Tech Week launches at the festival.
Launches at the festival.
My understanding, yes.
So it seems like we should have some tech art, public art for this particular purpose, right?
It would be great. You know, we're open to all suggestions that just present art to the community. Last year, we had a tech-related public art piece that involved virtual reality. It worked really well. It was very interesting. But we're open to all suggestions and all types of artists and mediums as well.
Right. But I would suggest a call be made, not specifically, but be suggesting that a tech artist would be the best fit for
Okay.
this.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Very nice.
I have a couple questions. So you mentioned that the call to artists, that Glendale Arts will launch the call for artists who demonstrate experience in design and production of public art. And I'm wondering, is, you know, based on what we just discussed with respect to Tech Week, would it be appropriate, and I don't mean to give anybody any work here, so Gary, you have to listen to this because I might be assigning your staff to something. Yeah, okay. That, you know, it might be a good idea when it comes to calls for artists to produce public art, whether it be tech-oriented or, you know, other ideas, that the call, because this is what, you know, kind of like what our game is, that the call come out of arts and culture, of course, with the cooperation of the other two organizations. And so this means another call, but I think that would make sense, and then, the call can certainly be looked at, assessed, and even juried by multiple parties or multiple representatives. But I just would like to know what staff and what my fellow commissioners and you think about that, having the call be focused on the commission taking charge of that.
Might I suggest that it just be done in collaboration with, but certainly...
Yes. Administered by.
I think that the commission has a much broader reach and has the capacity to reach so many more artists that we might be able to. So I think that is a great idea. Yeah.
And we need, it's like, when you're trying to exercise and get fit, we need to do these calls, and we need to broaden our reach into the greater Glendale area and beyond. So that would be great, and of course it would be collaborative.
Great.
Okay.
Jennifer Cubed, working together.
Jennifer Cubed, yes. Sorry, I have a couple more questions. Just bear with me. And this may be obvious now that we've talked about this, but it says the Commission, Brand Library, and Glendale Arts are going to work collaboratively to select artists. So, the call goes out, but I think we need to think about specifically what that means in terms of collaborative selection. Are there 3 representatives, each representing one of these organizations, or, this is a tactical question. How will that collaborative decision-making happen? So it's just something to consider. I don't know, because this is kind of general. It's a good idea, but I just thought, the next step should be to figure out how that's going to work. So once the call is out, we're not going, how are we going to do this? Or, who's going to be involved? Mm-hmm. Then the next thing was, so the work is going to be up for, as part of the official activity and event, it's going to be, the $5,000 includes display for 1 day?
Correct.
Okay. So I think that there was some mention, I may have misread it, about that there will be a collaborative decision-making as to where the thing will go next. First of all, I'd like to suggest that, if possible, I don't know if this works logistically, that it stay up for longer where it is, because any place we would take it, it would certainly, I don't think we can do like a daily tour. It's just too labor-intensive. So if it could stay put for a certain amount of time, and then we, the commission, since we're going to take it from there, would just move it wherever. We could certainly tell you where it's going to move, but just the figuring out and complexity of setting down a piece of art somewhere, I think the less people involved in making that decision, it's going to be easier. Maybe I'm wrong, but that seems pretty, like it's got some bureaucracy attached to it, so maybe the commission should follow through on, after the big event when it goes on tour. I don't know.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
I think that is great, and it's only an opportunity for the artist to be present in the public for longer.
Yeah.
So that's only a good thing, and that we would be in hopes that it could go somewhere after and live for longer.
I would hope so too. I mean, I would love the commission to capitalize on the availability of this art to take it around and spread it around the city.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any additional?
Absolutely. I agree.
Yes, I agree with you, Arlene. But I think, the kind of art that's made will determine whether it can be moved or not, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to move it, we want to move it, we have a plan to take it places, I think it needs to be set from now or from next week, or else leaving it up in the air, maybe, maybe not, I don't think is going to make sense. Because an artist will make the work to be moved, will be a very different work as opposed to something that's just there for 1 day and then it's done. You take
So
it
that
home,
becomes
or you
part
take
of the call to
So-
say that it's going to be relocated.
So I think we have to think whether that makes sense for us and where it would go. We need a better plan, I think, and I think we are on the same page to move it, right? And so if there's a plan to take it a place or a few places afterwards, then we would probably support that also.
Okay.
I think maybe just to be a little cost effective, we could just select one place for it to go after, and it stays there for...
That's an option.
Yeah.
Just as
For
long as
instance,
it's in
right.
the public domain
Right.
and I hate to say that we get the biggest bang for our buck, but that's not, but still, just to have art out there and have people be exposed to it. So a little longer where it is, and then we have to make a plan of how to move art around and even put that in the call, like you said.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
okay.
So, sorry, just to clarify, would you like us to make a plan for that, or is that a collaborate? Should we propose
For
an
where
idea
it
for
would
that?
go?
Yeah.
Well,
And
I...
as well for the call.
I think we would work in collaboration
yeah,
with
we
staff.
have to work in...
Staff, Jennifer,
Yeah.
two Jennifers.
And,
Jennifer.
Jen-
Work with Jennifer.
And just to be clear, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, 3, this would, my apologies. Where the art is going to initially be located is likely in the middle of a street. So
Right.
when the festival comes down, the piece cannot stay there. It would need to be moved immediately.
Right.
If it's tech focused, it would make sense to display it in conjunction with Tech Week. But of course it does, as Commissioner Oshagan had mentioned, this needs to be, and you as well echoed, it needs to be written into the call that it's going to be moved and possibly a location that, completely could keep an artist from applying from the nature of their pieces. Usually they work as very temporal, or not temporal, but just very, short-lived, if you will. But it might encourage another artist to apply because their piece, has more life. So I think for now, let's maybe leave open how long the piece lives, or
Right.
will work in
Can't
collaboration.
possibly answer that, yeah.
Right,
I agree.
so-
But just the idea that it will stay where it can as long as it can and then move, and we will have to figure that out. And we will do it collaboratively.
Okay.
Yeah, and then to clarify, I believe also you had said that your interest is in for that one day. The cost is that cost. You didn't include movement of the piece in that. So that would be something that the commission may wish to. You have the flexibility to add to that $5,000, not necessarily to go to Glendale Arts, because if
No, it'll be our expense at that point.
yeah, so you will need to likely, the event takes place,
September the 14th.
so perhaps, things need to happen. So that's another thing to keep in mind, is how quickly this turnaround is, and what can we get in that short time. And then next would be, obviously, if you choose to move forward with this motion, we could come back at the next meeting. We'll know a lot more and maybe approve at that point costs for relocation.
Okay.
Does that seem-
And just to clarify, so you would be initiating the call, right?
That was the idea.
Well, frankly, we've already initiated something just to get the momentum going. We didn't know what the future held in terms of the commission or any other funding that we've applied for. So we have launched a call already with the stipend of $500 associated with it. So I think a larger amount and the commission support would just increase the interest and the response rate. I think we've got the basis for a basic call, which then you could modify as you like. So a little bit of the groundwork has already been done, and then you take it and launch a new call and apply the relevant details.
Yeah, at the beginning, I mentioned it, but I don't think it was very clear. I had thought that it would be a good idea for us to be the administrator of the call so that we have consistency and the commission puts out calls for public art. That would be one of our responsibilities, whether we're collaborating or whether we're working alone. And then, of course, on the selection process, we'd collaborate with you, but administratively, doing a call, I think, would not only be good for the community and the artists that we know, but it would be good for us, and it would be good for the arts staff to do it, because we need to make calls and get used to making calls. So it would be to help you.
So in making the motion, we might want to modify it to give staff permission or direction to do that.
To the motion.
And I believe I would strongly suggest in consultation with Glendale Arts,
Yes.
we generate the call, but we work with you.
Yes.
That works, absolutely.
We're using their template, kind of.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay.
So for artists who may be listening, where would they get that information now?
We'll likely post that on Cafe.
And then publicize that it's on Cafe.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Jennifer. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And are we ready to entertain the motion with the modification and vote?
Any more questions?
Any more questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Vidor and members of the commission, if I could just clarify, the motion will be as written. With the modification, there'll be a third bullet point, which will say to that you also give library, arts, and culture staff the ability to modify or edit the call to the artist with input from, is it Glendale Arts? Glendale Arts. Is there any change to that motion?
And make the call, right?
And make
We're
the
gonna
call.
Make the
Yeah,
call.
execute the call.
Execute the call.
Execute
right.
the call as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then collaborate, yes. So does somebody want to make the motion?
Should I? I, Commissioner Oshagan, move that the Arts and Culture Commissioner hereby, number one, co-sponsor the 2019 Glendale Open Arts and Music Festival. I guess, sorry.
The money's on the next one.
Yeah, and fund the temporary public art installation at the Open Arts and Music Festival in the amount of $5,000 from the 2019-20 work plan. Sorry, so I guess the co-sponsor, does that mean anything besides having our name part of it? I'm sorry, I'm going back. The number one, what does that exactly mean to co-sponsor? Please, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And if you could introduce yourself, thank you.
Sure, certainly. My name is Nina Crow. I'm Managing Director of Glendale Arts. And the term co-sponsorship came from the original working piece that Shannon and Jennifer Third worked together, where Brand Library and Glendale Arts would co-sponsor the project. And so I think that term was lifted up and put in the motion today. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the request is for sponsorship. The co-sponsorship was just lifted from another piece of document. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, that's it, yeah.
Okay, so the last item in the motion, number 3. Does he have to repeat what you said?
No, he can
No,
just say
okay.
as
number
okay.
three, as-
previously
as
stated.
It was read, as
Okay.
previously stated.
Second,
I'll second.
roll call, please.
Commissioners Oshagan,
Yes.
Tufentian,
Yes.
Chairperson Vidor.
Yes,
Item 5AB, report regarding redesign of the arts and entertainment.
I don't want to let that, the piece that we want to do in terms of moving it, is that going to be part of, so we need to direct staff to do research as to how, and if possible, to move the art piece, right? I think we need to make that
Where to
decision.
move
that's going to be
to
an
it.
agenda item, and we'll talk, when we get to comments, I had some suggested agenda items, and you're certainly welcome. Could we save that to the very end, because there might be more?
So it'll be part of the call, but then it will also be an agenda item
It'll
for
be an
next
agenda
meeting.
Yeah, and we'll go over agenda items under commissioners' comments. At least I had planned to do that.
We may run out of time if we approve the research next month, and then it's going to be the month after, it's going to be like, that'll be the event.
So
Right.
with what I would suggest is that the call dictate that the piece is going to be moved.
Yes.
And so the artist will be aware that there's movement involved when they're applying, and that they have to build it as such. That we can even be so specific as to say it's on one-day display at the Open Arts Music Festival, and then it's moved. We will have to do research in the interim of where that's going. That's not the artist's responsibility, but I think we can take that on without, as just staff duty, and then and then we'll bring back a more specific motion if funds and whatnot are
there'll be a
required
second,
Okay.
action
at next meeting.
funding.
All right, perfect.
Okay. Go ahead.
Item 5AB, report regarding redesign of the Arts Entertainment District on Artsac Avenue and nearby alley. Motion to note and file.
Chair Vidor, staff respectfully recommends that the Arts and Culture Commission note and file the report dated July 18th, 2019 by the Director of Library Arts and Culture, providing information by the Community Development Department concerning an update on the redesign of the Art and Entertainment District on Artsac Avenue and nearby alley. And we have a representative to speak to you.
We've got, Shannon Heffernan and Tamara O'Connor from Studio 111 and Community Arts Resources speaking on the agenda item. Go ahead. You're not Shannon Heffernan, but that's okay.
I'm not. Jennifer One here, or the original.
Okay.
Or the old Jennifer, I guess. So thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. You've heard about this item before. This is a continuation of a conversation and an update. And quite honestly, I think a very fun part of the conversation for you. Since we last presented to you in March, it was March 21st, we have had a number of community outreach and engagement components to where we are with the reimagination of the Arts and Entertainment District. And I really want to emphasize that we have such a unique opportunity to recreate and really identify this Arts and Entertainment District. At this point, and you've seen this before I turn it over to Shannon Heffernan and Tamara O'Connor, this is the area in question. It is the Arts and Entertainment District, which is generally on Artsac Avenue. It also extends through some nodes to important cultural areas such as the Alex Theater. The pink parts are actually within, those are the alleys. And we are also taking a look at the service alley that is parallel to Artsac Avenue between Brand. I know that we've walked that before. So throughout this conversation, we have been looking at, are there ways in which we can infuse more public art? Are there ways that we can make it more pedestrian friendly? Can we add public furniture? So many of these things, Studio 111, who has been the City Council's consultant team that they selected, Studio 111 has been examining one-way streets in addition to looking at alternative plaza options, and you'll hear from Shannon on that very soon. This is just a brief overview of some of the outreach efforts that we have engaged with since City Council gave us a direction back in March. As you recall, we came to you. From there, we had individual meetings with stakeholders, especially those impacted in the Arts and Entertainment District. We also hosted an Activate Artsac event, which you were a part of, and we're very grateful to you for that. And that was a great opportunity for us to hear directly from the residents and stakeholders on preferred public art and preferred amenities that they would like to see in this area. We continued to reach out to the stakeholders, went to the City Council in early June just to get an idea now that we've further vetted out the options for the configuration of the street. That's really what we've been most concerned about, and that's where we are in this stage. And I do want to reiterate to you that you have been involved with this at its inception. And as you continue with the Urban Art Program Plan and looking at how do you utilize those funds, we continue to believe that this is a really unique opportunity and hopefully a potential where you can directly place at least a portion of those funds, even a small portion, for the benefit of the public and the Arts and Entertainment District. So with that, I would like to introduce Shannon Heffernan. She's the Urban Design Director at Studio 111, and she will review with you the different concepts that they have been contemplating, as well as just briefly overviewing the community event on Artsac Avenue. Shannon?
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. My name is Shannon Heffernan, and I'm the Urban Design Director at Studio 111. And as Jennifer mentioned, we are the lead design consultant for the Glendale Arts and Entertainment District visioning effort. And I wanted to kick off this presentation by sharing some of the key insights from our outreach efforts to date. As Jennifer previously highlighted, in addition to presenting to City Council and the Arts and Culture Commission, we have held one-on-one meetings with stakeholders, including property and business owners, and we had a larger event on April 27th called Activate ArtSoc. And the purpose of this event was really to collect feedback from participants on their goals and vision for the Arts and Entertainment District. And I am happy to report that the Activate ArtSoc event was very successful. We had about 250 people attend. We also provided a lot of opportunities to provide feedback. We activated one of the vacant storefronts on the North Block, and we turned it into a pop-up design studio for the day. And we also had a lot of outdoor activities as well, including providing food, music, live performances, an Arts and Entertainment District walking tour, which is something that was suggested the last time we met, as well as pop-up galleries and artist displays. And here are some photos from the Activate ArtSoc community event. So from our outreach efforts, there have been 4 key takeaways that I wanted to share with you today. The first is that there is strong support for the goals for the Glendale Arts and Entertainment District, and one of those main goals really is reimagining ArtSoc as the heart of the Arts and Entertainment District. We also received consensus from every stakeholder group that we met. With that, the character of the Arts and Entertainment District should be much more adult and artist-focused. We heard from City Council that they preferred a much more tactical and incremental approach to improving the streetscape along ArtSoc Avenue, and that many stakeholders and community members also expressed their preferences to pedestrianize the street. In addition, we also had the community prioritize existing or additional placemaking and design elements that they would like to see, and some of these included shade canopies, bold and colorful paving, artistic lighting, iconic public art pieces, and wayfinding and gateway signage. And here's how the community responses ranked for each of those elements. And many of the elements on this list could be designed by artists and could be integrated into the larger streetscape improvements as part of this project that we're working on. So I wanted to provide an overview of the 2 conceptual design options that our team is developing for ArtSoc Avenue. I want to stress we are still in phase 1 of this project. We are still in the early conceptual phase. But those 2 options are the one-way shared street option and the plaza scheme. And on June 4th, we did receive direction from Council to move forward with studying both of these options. And we will be reporting back to Council in late August with our findings. But the purpose of today's presentation is that we wanted to have a high-level discussion and get the Arts and Culture Commission's input on the ideas for public art and artist design components that have the potential to be incorporated as part of this project. And you'll see that the art elements that we will be highlighting and discussing today could actually be applied to either option that's selected, which is great. And as we move forward with this project, we would also like to work with the Arts and Culture Commission to identify specific artist-designed elements that could be implemented through the Urban Art Program Plan and as part of the Urban Art Fund. So for orientation purposes, this is a diagram of ArtSoc Avenue. We have Wilson to the north, which is on the right side of your screen. And we have Harvard and the Central Library to the south, which is on the left of your screen. And the current street configuration has 2 travel lanes, one in each direction, rather narrow sidewalks, and an existing plaza that is a pilot project located on the north block of the street. And so our first conceptual design option is what we are calling the one-way shared street option. And this option involves the removal of one of the travel lanes and converting that space into more of a pedestrian and people space, with the remaining travel lane being a one-way southbound lane that would run from Wilson to Harvard. And by careful study, we also determined that by slightly weaving this road, we could expand the sidewalks on both sides of the streets to benefit businesses, and this would provide opportunities for outdoor seating and potentially art as well. And this curved road that we are demonstrating is called a chicane. This is a transportation best practice that is used to slow down speeds of roads and to create more of a pedestrian-first environment. And this is a best practice that is used in all parts of the world in urban areas, but I think a similar road within your city is Honolulu Avenue in Montrose. It has a very similar curvature. So looking at the North Block in a little bit more detail for the one-way scheme, as I mentioned, this option shows the weaving of the travel lane, allowing for expanded sidewalks and public spaces on both sides of the street, including in front of the retail garage storefronts that the city owns and other existing businesses. And the spaces that will be created can be activated either by existing businesses through providing outdoor seating, or have art components, or even be programmed for events. And I just quickly wanted to mention that the garage access and loading for existing businesses will be maintained, as well as the valet operations for Rafi's Place. And we also wanted to highlight how the North Block with this option could still accommodate a larger plaza that could be programmed for more occasional events through the temporary closure of the street using bollards and event signage. And then the concept for the South Block shows activating the ground floor of the parking garage with retail. And there are also opportunities for parklets and curb extensions that could be activated with street furniture. There we go. So we also developed vignettes or street scenes of what the one-way shared street option could look like on each block. And so here's an existing photo of the North Block with the pilot plaza. And here's the North Block with the one-way option, and I just wanted to highlight some potential artist design elements that could be integrated as part of the streetscape design, including a shade canopy. This is a great opportunity for a temporary art installation that could be designed by artists and refreshed annually or every couple of years, as well as the expanded sidewalks and public spaces that can serve as an artist's canvas for decorative painting or paving patterns. And here's a photo of the existing South Block with the Central Library and looking down towards Harvard. And in this street scene, we are highlighting, again, the expanded sidewalks and public spaces that could accommodate playful furnishings and movable street seating that could be designed by artists. And there are also opportunities to include art on surfaces and walls through painted patterns and paving, or even through digital art projections to activate blank building facades in the evenings and at night. So this could be a good way to integrate tech through art as well, because I know we were talking about that earlier. So our second conceptual design option is what we are calling the plaza scheme. And again, as a refresher, here's a diagram of Artsock Avenue. And this diagram highlights the existing Plaza Pilot project on the North Block.
Shannon, sorry, if I could you
Sure.
go back one slide? So the public garage here on the South Block has access on Harvard Street, right? While the public garage on the North Block does not have any other access except from Artsock. That's correct, right?
Yes.
That's
correct.
one of the main issues, right? The public garage, right?
Yeah. Okay. So hang on, there we go. So our plaza build option builds on the pilot project by making the temporary plaza on the North Block permanent. And in this option, the South Block would also have a plaza in front of the public garage. And each of these plazas could be activated uniquely or even independently of each other. But this option does rely more heavily on continuous programming of these spaces. So looking at the North Block in a little bit more detail for the plaza scheme, in addition to the permanent plaza in front of the garage retail storefronts, we have also added a few bulb outs on Wilson and Broadway to really tighten these intersections and to make them feel much safer for pedestrians. And this option still does maintain the U-turn configuration, and through our design, we would address some of the current circulation issues with that U-turn by providing more adequate signage, letting motorists know that this is not a through street. So for the South Block, the plaza could be activated with temporary programming, such as kiosks or farmers markets, as well as even have sculptural art or iconic art pieces. And similar to the North Block, the ground floor of the parking garage on the South Block would be activated with retail. And this option also provides opportunities for expanded sidewalks and outdoor seating. And one thing that I just quickly wanted to mention with both of these conceptual options is that our transportation consultant is vetting both of the options to identify any potential circulation issues or safety issues, and we will be incorporating their comments into our presentation that we will be sharing with Council in late August. So a lot of these designs are still in their iterative phase. And we also created vignettes or street scenes for the North Block. So here is the pilot plaza. And by making the plaza permanent, the public space could again serve as an artist's canvas for decorative paint or even a unique paving pattern. And there are also opportunities for sculptural art and iconic art pieces here in this plaza that could either be commissioned from local artists or even procured through design competitions. And then looking at the existing South Block. For the South Block Plaza scheme, there are also many opportunities to incorporate public art as well, including playful artist-designed street furniture pieces, overhead installations, and shade canopies. Overhead installations and shade canopies, as well as other programmatic elements such as pop-up galleries or even artisanal markets. And we've also illustrated opportunities for creative signage that could be designed in collaboration with an artist. And these signage markers could serve as a branding or an identity element for the entire district as a whole. So we did have a few additional recommendations for the Arts and Entertainment District. And the first is improvements to the alley to create a much more engaging space. And so this is something that we are looking at with our design process right now. As well as providing some sort of signage, landscape, and lighting enhancements to those 3 east-west passageways that connect Artsock Avenue to Brand Boulevard. And having an Arts and Entertainment District and Artsock Avenue identity sign. And then lastly, looking at a preliminary arts program implementation plan. So figuring out how our design team and staff could work with the Arts and Culture Commission to identify and integrate art through this project through the implementation of the Urban Art Program Plan, as well as potentially utilizing the Urban Art Fund. And we also developed vignettes for the existing Broadway and Artsock intersection, as well as for the alley. So let me just go over these quickly. So the intersection really does serve as a gateway into the Arts and Entertainment District, and this gateway sign that could be designed by an artist could span Artsock Avenue and provide a grand entrance to the district. And this is something that Council was really excited about when we presented to them in June, is having that gateway moment or element. And there are also opportunities to increase pedestrian safety at this intersection through art. So making crosswalks more visible and adding a creative art component. So either an intersection mural or some sort of creative crosswalk. And here's a photo of the existing public alley, and this alley runs parallel to Artsock Avenue. There we go. And so as a space, this alley is inherently less formal and serves multiple functions. And the alley really does present opportunities for unique art components that could be different yet complementary to Artsock Avenue, including interesting artist-designed street graphics, rotating art on building facades, or even artist-designed signage. And before I hand this presentation over to Tamara to lead a focused discussion on prioritizing some of these art components that you've seen today. I just wanted to mention that these conceptual options are not mutually exclusive. They could be either combined or phased in a variety of different ways, and that's something that our design team will be studying over the next couple of months. But we do really feel strongly that the ideas presented today are bold and actionable, and that they will further ArtSoc Avenue as an interesting and successful heart of the downtown arts and entertainment district. And art really is one of the key components in realizing this vision. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can we ask questions now on this plan, maybe, or wait?
Nope. Go back to this.
Maybe wait till
I'm just going to take it for a few minutes. Nice to see you again, Commissioner.
Excuse me one second. Does someone have a specific question for Shannon on what she just presented?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
Is that possible, or should we wait? I can wait till the
I think
end.
if you can just wait for a few minutes and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
So as you can see, the synergy that's happening with the release of the Public Art Master Plan, with your recent fantastic hire of Jennifer, and now with this amazing project going on in ArtSoc, we have all these opportunities to talk about. You can see the list of the identified elements of the different kinds of art, the iconic art, in addition to the seasonal rotating art listed below. So our goal here today is to get your overall support and also to make sure that you are walking hand in hand with economic development and with this project, so we're all synergistically working to move forward. We know that City Council is very much interested in the gateway signage. We too believe that that would be important to support, to give branding to the element of ArtSoc. So we want to see if theoretically that would be appropriate from the Urban Art Fund. In addition to having you have a little bit of a offline discussion right now, if you could identify maybe 3 options or 2 in addition to the gateway that you feel are the top priorities of what, again, these would be rolled out incrementally, but what you feel would be important to release early so that we could also, as we move through the next phase, incorporate your thoughts so that we're all speaking on the same page. So I invite you just to review some of these elements that you saw and whether or not some of these speak to you, that we could take notes on and remind ourselves that when we do get to the next phase, we are working with your intentions in mind. So in terms of the gateway signage, again, that would be a potential national call. It would elevate the actual existence of the Arts and Entertainment District. That might be in conjunction with the signage and with the storefront signage that would be designed in the same branding to give credence to the Arts and Entertainment District. So could I just invite a brief discussion on that item?
So again, just to clarify, thanks, Tammy.
Sure.
Discussion only. We're not making any decisions today. There's nothing on the agenda directing us to do so.
So you want to address specific points on this and have us comment on it, or you want us to give you our favorites? Or
it's very high level. Yes, again, we're not talking budget, we're not talking style, we're not talking but what speaks to you in terms of maybe 3 options that you think you would lend support to?
Okay, I'm a little confused. You're not talking about 3 options on a gateway approach. You're talking about 3 options from all these choices?
I would say a gateway, potentially, and 2 more from the items listed.
And again, unfortunately, we can't make any decisions.
Again, exactly.
Well, before we all weigh in on that, I think things like wayfinding, was that on there? Wayfinding signage? Is that?
Yes.
Creative signage wayfinding. I mean, that's not something we should be giving a priority on. That's an essential element of the whole design. I don't think we have to even consider that in our top 3, because that should go without saying, that that's going to be there and it's going to be interesting. It's not just going to be a square sign with lettering on it, just as the gateway isn't going to be an arch with lettering on it either. So there may have to be a call for the signage, but that's mandatory, right? So we'll take that one out because that has to happen.
Right, and I think that the idea would be to again, when we get to the next phase, work in conjunction with the Arts and Culture Commission and with city staff to have this implemented. Also with the existing storefronts, the branding, et cetera, so that everybody's at the table. We're all on the same page. Mm-hmm.
And if I might add, I mean, benches are essential, but they can also be works of art.
Yes, right. So the question is, well, everything on there is a work of art by definition, right? Because we don't want just your average boring everything. We want everything listed there to read and telegraph as a work of art. But so what Gary said is true, and I guess I can stop talking and you can say what you want to say. So who wants to go first?
I guess if I were going to pick three, first of all, thank you for your presentation. So excited about this, and I think it's going to be fantastic. But if I were going to pick three of them, I think it would be, yes, the Gateway, probably the iconic sculpture, and maybe going into benches or something like that as the third.
Right.
I want to thank you again also for coming here and presenting this, and like the synergy and the timing of all this is quite amazing. So I think we're going to make big changes in Glendale in the next few years. The Gateway, definitely, right? And we've talked about different gateways too. We've talked about here last month, the month before, about having an artist design gateways with the same kind of thematic idea at different places in the city, for instance. So, one artist would do 5 gateways perhaps, but all a little bit different or a lot different, but having the same kind of connection. That would be what Glendale would then become, kind of the identity or one of the identities of Glendale. So, I think that's really excellent. I hate to make your life a little bit more complicated, but one of my choices would be interactive kind of art, participatory art, where people can come when they're sitting on the chair, they can actually interact with it rather than just sit and watch. So that would be one of my top priorities in the list of any art that I would put anywhere. Contemporary, participatory, interactive kind of art. So I would add that. If you could add that to your list, I would appreciate that. And I think, shade structures, canopy structures are really, really important, especially in the summer. I think it draws people. I think that's really excellent. And I would also say, tech is an important part, of Glendale. Tech Week is becoming one of the most important things that Glendale does. So I think tech art has also been some of the thing we've talked about to make a sort of a focus for our programming, our art deployment. And so I would also add that.
Right, and the digital projection art is noted as the seasonal, but that's something that, we are very much into. We got that a lot when we were administering the Public Art Master Plan in terms of the feedback. And isn't that amazing that it works in just with Tech Week? So it's something that you may be able to consider as you put out your call for this initial artist. Bring that back to ArtSoc as you release Tech Week on ArtSoc and not have to physically move the art. But all these things are going on at the same time, and I think you guys are going to be exceptionally busy, and we respect, your professionalism, and we're really excited to present this to you. So in terms of anything else that you'd like to comment on, otherwise we can go to next steps.
Caroline, do you have anything? Do you have anything else?
Well, actually, if I could, one more. So one of the ideas, if ArtSoc Street becomes a plaza area, we've talked about an iconic art piece. That could be a space where a significant iconic art piece, permanent piece, could be placed for us. So that's one of the ideas that we also talked about, we've had. So that would be another thing that you should consider as a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I didn't comment yet, so could we go back and I can look at the list? I'm sort of on the same page with Ara about complicating things, because Gateway Glendale was something that we had discussed, that gateways could be a theme of our city, and this would be maybe the first of many gateways. So not to hold that up, obviously it's important to council and they want to see it, but maybe we could all work together to envision a concept of thematic gateways so that we can start getting into this Gateway Glendale idea, and that would be one, our first gateway. So that's a good one. And then I'm loving street patterns, color, and wall art. I think getting people to sit on the street, unless there's some absolutely fabulous restaurant they want to hang around at for 2 hours and drink their wine and eat their beautiful meal on the street, it's going to be hard to keep people there, and we want them sitting like it's a European plaza type of thing where people just plunk down and stay. So color, interest, visual interest on the walls, on the streets is something we should kind of clear the decks for, and maybe, I don't know, can I ask a question? Have we talked to any of the business owners or building owners about wall art?
I believe from the stakeholder outreach, they did find that the signage and gateway was exceptionally important, but I don't think we've gotten into the specifics of any public art elements. It's a little bit too
So those would be two that would interest me to kind of get everybody's attention in a big way.
Okay. So next steps. As Shannon mentioned, the traffic consultant is currently analyzing the different patterns and schemes that we provided today. We're going to be presenting that to council at the end of August, and then they will be able to weigh in on which option they will favor. And we'd like to be able to keep you informed and work with you and have your support. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We may want to go back and entertain some other questions, so go ahead. Is this, Shannon should be ready to answer a question.
Perhaps, yeah.
Okay.
First of all, you do have our full support.
Great.
All right. Yes.
Right,
Oh, definitely.
completely.
Definitely.
This is probably a moot point, but isn't there an option to make all of South Block, a plaza? Was that never considered? Because
I think that's actually something we were looking at for a much larger event. So let me just pull that up really fast.
Because the parking in front of the library you can access from Harvard Street, and then the rest of the street, conceptually, this is probably, you've discussed this and it's been rejected for whatever reason. I just want to know why that's not on the table.
So I think we are working, or we are looking at the structural capacity of the garage to see if there is an opportunity to potentially have a punch through or provide access via the alley. That's one option we're looking at. And so a lot of that has to do with looking at the as-builts for the structural garage to see if that's even a possibility. But I think that's a really interesting point where that plaza space could be expanded all the way to Harvard Street. The challenge that I do see is having a space that large. It just does require continuous programming, events, and activation. And so we are just trying to be mindful of...
We'll pay for it.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Hold it. New action item.
I'll write that down, because that was one of the things that we are engaging our cost estimator to look at costs for each of these schemes. But programming and activation is kind of something that is extremely important to making spaces places that people want to stay in. And so we wanted to keep the plaza a manageable size, but that is something, we can look at, assuming that there would be adequate programming for that space.
I would also add, and it's one of the not handicaps, it's one of the parameters we have on the North Block. There is loading spaces for not only the marketplace, but also for what is Marshall's. That takes access off that northern part of the southern block. So it's really, and there's nowhere else to do it. So if you were to take it all the way from Broadway to Harvard, you'd have to do something to allow that to remain a loading. And then you're kind of doing two things. And again, as Shannon said, with something that large, the emphasis will really be on programming and causing something to happen rather than something that could be more passive and letting it happen. So that's one of the constraints. That's the word I was looking for. One of the constraints we're working with in making the whole block.
But if it would be possible to go down to Harvard, I think it would, that synergy between that area and the library, it would just be more natural. So I think that might be.
Again, when they run the traffic models, we're going to see, and we have a whole lot of interest in it. Life safety, both police and fire, they want to make sure that they can get to wherever they need to go. So that's something we also massage in another one of our considerations, if you will.
Go
ahead.
Okay, I don't know who I'm addressing my question to, so I'll just address it. But it had to do with programming, and the idea of programming, yes, being activities, I think, or, you know, like a festival or an event that brings crowds of people in. But maybe we could look at programming as that's part of programming, but anything that gets people on the street or in the area, even if they're just sitting and drinking coffee, is programming, because we wouldn't want the place to empty out when there aren't any events. And so I kind of see, wall art and street art, street murals and then art on the walls as being sort of like passive programming that draws people there just because they want to be there. That maybe there are Instagrammable moments for them, or they just enjoy the visuals and it just feels good to be there. But programming shouldn't just be things that come and go. It should be maybe things we don't think of as programming.
Agreed. And I think from when I watched Shannon's presentation to you prior, Ara, you made the point how important the marketplaces are, the retail, and council also noted that if they are artisanal markets, that's also a big draw. So again, that is not programming per se, but it brings people a reason to be there because we have to give them a reason. Mm-hmm. So that's the point well taken. Okay. Anything else about programming?
Could I add something?
Sure.
I mean, it's possible. I'm going back to this whole plaza. I know there are issues with the traffic and other issues that I don't understand. It's probably limitations that cannot be overcome, perhaps. But in terms of programming the large plaza, it's possible to place two large art pieces, iconic pieces, sculptures that do not need much maintenance, that will permanently activate spaces that people can walk around. And then the other spaces you can always activate seasonally and things like that, right? I always think of the Third Street Promenade, They don't actually do much art in Third Street Promenade, actually, from my experience. They have these big sculptures and people just kind of walk around them. So I think the programming end of it can be solved, the traffic and the other issues, perhaps not, the easement issues.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was really great. Next item.
We need a motion to accept and file.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is an action item. I keep forgetting that. All right. Do I have a motion to accept and note to file?
Yes, I'll do it. Do we have it written here?
You're going to do the
Yes, we do.
motion.
It's here.
Where is it?
Page.
Okay. I, Commissioner Tufenkian, move that the Director of Library, Arts and Culture, July 18th, is that the one? Report regarding the redesign of the Arts and Entertainment District on Artsakh Avenue is hereby received, noted, and filed.
I second.
Roll call.
Commissioners Oshagan,
Yes.
Tufenkian,
Yes.
Chairperson Vidor.
Yes. Keep us posted. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, next item.
Item 5B, information item. There are no items. Item 5CA, discussion items, 2019-2020 work plan progress.
Chair Vidor, Commissioners, City staff, and departing guests. On December 18th, 2018, the City Council approved the 2019-2020 work plan of the Arts and Culture Commission and appropriated funds to accomplish activities detailed in the work plan. Activities related to this plan will continue through the end of 2020. The following updates are programs from the work plan that have been recently that have had recent activity. I bring your attention to the screen. That's a picture of Glendale High School on Broadway. This actually has to do with the two boxes sitting in front of the school. For Beyond the Box, staff are planning a new phase of utility box murals. Staff contacted art instructors at Glendale High School before the end of the school year so that their students can work and submit to a special utility box project outside the high school. And we were given permission from the Public Works Department to use both of those boxes. So we're looking forward to a real fun artist call with Glendale High School art students.
Two boxes that together.
Those two.
One artist does two. Yeah?
We'll have to figure that out. Yeah, it could be one, it could be two.
When do you anticipate then, because you have more than these two boxes, will you do these separately or will you do a call for?
It'd be best to do them all at once, but this could be an entirely separate piece of that big call. So there'd be more of a public call. Let's say paint in October would be our usual schedule, and if the kids have enough time to put their work together, that might work to put them at the same time.
Very nice.
I won't take that one. The Glendale Art Walk staff are working with the legal department to prepare and issue a request for proposal for an event management consultant to plan and execute a pilot Glendale Art Walk. We have had discussions. We've submitted some work to the legal department, and we are going back and forth. Legal is confident that their work will be done very soon. So we'll be able to release that out.
Can I make a comment on that? I think since we had a meeting at which I represented the commission and other participants were present, and we had talked about doing something either in late September or early October, that we should postpone this and let everybody know, because if we don't have a consultant on board yet, it's going to be hard to put something together. And I'm willing to hear other thoughts about that. It just doesn't seem feasible to have a date that is that close. Comments?
I would agree. I think it takes time to market it and be diligent
logistics.
about everything, right?
Yeah.
So,
what's the date? I'm sorry.
Well, we had originally talked about early October, possibly, and
perhaps this could be a spring event.
the spring, maybe sometime next year. So
Perhaps we can ask our friends at Glendale Arts to notify the group that there's the group of local artists that they've been,
yes,
or not artists, but arts organizations that they've been working with, and perhaps they can let them know that we are looking to postpone that to spring.
Yeah, there were minutes from that meeting, and so the same people who were involved could be notified, and then we'll have to reconvene after the consultant is on board. Unfortunately, but at least we're getting the consultant. Okay.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Item 2, Neighborhood Arts. Staff received 18 applications to exhibit art in the Adams Square Mini Park gas station, and staff is working with the Arts and Culture Commission Selection Committee to schedule a review of the applications. So we expect that review to happen in late August. We'll probably get a few more applications. They vary they vary. I think there are enough to choose from at this point, and enough that are on the outstanding end versus anything kind of pedestrian. So there's a lot to pick from right now.
So the selection will be made in late August, and then when do you anticipate scheduling the first art show?
Late September. Okay. I mean, really, before the holidays, there is a little notch of time when the neighborhood committee puts on a holiday.
Yeah, a holiday event. That's between Thanksgiving weekend and the middle of January.
Right, right. So we may be able to get one in there prior to that.
Are we still accepting artwork?
You bet.
Okay.
You bet.
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, please. Please.
I'm supposed to wait till the end, but I'll ask. It's a quickie. And maybe this is something Jennifer 2 knows about. I would think we would have an end to the call. We keep our calls open and we don't really say an end. Isn't it kind of standard procedure to start a call and end a call so people know when they should stop submitting?
Yeah, your work plan runs through the end of 2020. So if there are 18 fabulous propositions, we could try and squeeze them all in before the end of 2020. If there are 2, we'd need to look further. And we didn't know what sort of response we'd get. The mechanism for getting the response is there. It just remains to be seen whether the selection committee wants to accept those or move on.
So we'll probably defer to the selection committee as far as if they feel we have enough to move forward, close the call, or keep it open.
Okay.
And maybe prescribe an end date.
And then launching a new call later. Do you have a question?
Yeah, and so this is 2 or 3, maybe 4 times more submissions than we've had in the past.
There is a
Why is that?
There's a stipend
What happened?
Involved with this particular call. You approved a $1,000 stipend, so it's somewhat more attractive than the no stipend calls that we've had in the past.
Okay, but the venues in which it was promoted are the same as before, exact same
they are the same.
methodology. Okay.
They are the same. They are the same.
Cool.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Here's our thing. Here's a picture. You may recall our friend Scott Froschauer with his Word on the Street signs. The legal department completed the artist agreement with Scott Froschauer, and staff is now working with Community Services and Parks and Traffic and Transportation and the artist to install his 18 Word on the Street signs. Staff worked with Mr. Froschauer in this particular instance to reinstall a sign outside the front steps of the downtown Central Library that is now part of a special drought-tolerant demonstration garden really funded by the Public Works, or Glendale Water and Power Department. His particular sign here is Grow, and if you'll notice, the garden includes an area for public art. There's a little square there that his sign sits in, and that is not covered by foliage. It's next to, as you can see, a commission-sponsored painted utility box.
It's great.
It's beautiful. And I think it's a great space for temporary urban art. So very nice.
And that's the hope, Commissioner, as well as we've actually brought electrical to this space as well. So if there was a site that required that, there's space for that as well. Obviously, Mr. Froschauer's sign does not require electricity, but we thought it rather apropos for the new demonstration garden.
No, that's great, and thank you very much, library staff and Dr. Schaefer, for making this happen, because it's, really our first designated rotating public art space. And that standpipe in the background looks like some kind of animal, and it should probably be painted in some way and become an art piece itself.
Unfortunately, we did broach the fire department about that, and we cannot cover that or paint it in any other way.
Okay. Even with pictures of fire trucks. All right, never mind.
Next item would be performing arts. As you know, the popular Brand Library Plaza series and the Tutu East series continue now through the month of August. Tomorrow night, Friday, July 19th, 7 p.m. at Brand Library, we'll have Salsa Caliente. And my understanding is that there's a very special Brand Associates membership outreach at that event. So you'll want to become a member of...
It's Membership Appreciation Night.
There you go.
And you get to go to a lovely refreshment area and be dined in high style if you are a member or become a member before tomorrow, and you can come as a member. So,
always a very popular night on these brand things when the Brand Associates throw a party. The Plaza series, really, I was really happy with the eclectic, just the variety of musical styles. There's no one note. If there's 13 weeks, it's 13 notes. It's an entire scale of music. So we have the New Orleans Jazz Funk Ensemble. This is a group that's played Fish to Birds. They've played at the 222 East series. They were selected this year up at Brand Library. Marvelous. There are 6 musicians. They sing a cappella. They do not have backup musicians. They do the whole thing. They're really strong jazz performers. And if you're sitting in the front row, or if you know them, you're going to get called out in one of their songs because they're going to make stuff up about you as they sing. They're a lot of fun. They do that to staff all the time. August 9th, Vinya's Rooftop Ensemble. And then on August 10th at the it's the 222 East series. We're going to have King Soul and the Vibes. They are a funky group, a lot of fun, and that's right next to the Museum of Neon Art. They call it the Central Park Plaza. We have, again, an interesting group, Indian Instruments, Anadas Music, that's in the middle of August. Zella, a really fine group. Now, again, this group came from, they reapplied, but they were part of the 222 East series. And staff liked what they heard this time around. They're putting them in here. Eclectic, kind of Middle Eastern jazz, acoustic for the most part. Bridge to Everywhere, which is a very strong orchestral modern music group, will finish the Brand Plaza series on August 30th. So I hope you can, somebody will go out to one of those. You know, if you are there, let staff know. We'll introduce you because your funding has made this possible. My part of this will finish here with the website. Staff, as I discussed at 2 months ago's meeting, staff are working with a web developer to produce an Arts and Culture Commission website. So we have a front page, and our friends from CARS may notice that we were very, very happy with a lot of the artwork found in the Urban Art Program Plan, and some of that has informed at least the splash page for the website.
Can I ask a question about public art map? Is it possible to include in the inventory art that is in the public right-of-way but not paid for by the Urban Art Program Plan and designated as such? Because there are some interesting pieces of art around and wall art and things that were not funded by this commission, but they're on the public right-of-way.
So, Chair Vidor, thank you for that thought. Definitely one of our plans is to, and now that we have staff to help us, is to inventory all public art in Glendale, however it was funded. So there is a plan towards that. It's not our #1 priority right now, but it's definitely in our plans to do that. And we would concur with you on that.
Now, may I ask, is lobby art also considered public art?
Depends on what it is. If the lobby is publicly accessible, yes, but we may have to get permissions. You know, in inventorying it, yes, I guess we could make a note. There's art in the lobby. We'd rather have a photograph of it, so whether they would allow us to do that and include it. But if it was definitely, if it's part of developer funding, you know, as towards their obligation, that of course would be able to. We would have a right to.
So whether it's interior or exterior doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think we would, start with exterior art, and as things were made known to us, because there is hidden gems all over the city. I constantly come across a piece of art and I'm like, where did that come from? It's been there for years, and so that's the kind of stuff we would like to document. Sorry, as a trained librarian, I'm just into that sort of stuff.
Thank you. Okay. Go ahead.
Anything more on the
Next
website,
item.
or is that?
That's it for the website.
Okay. Spending.
And I can cover spending to date. To date, actually, $19,000 of funds set aside for the 2019-2020 work plan have been spent, and an additional $26,250 have been encumbered.
Encumbered meaning?
Meaning it is, the invoice hasn't come in yet, but it has been spent, if you will.
Okay. Out of 800-something thousand that we had approved to spend, right?
Yes. We're just getting started.
Okay.
That is over a 2-year period.
Great. Okay, next item.
Item 6, Commission staff comments.
Anybody? Okay, I got a couple. Well, I think we already mentioned that we're going to agendize the discussion about the call on the tech and then take it into a general call. I also wanted to thank Library Arts and Culture for having a library volunteer recognition event, because I talked to a number of volunteers and they were really excited about it and very happy to be recognized. So thank you very much for doing that. And I also wanted to find out where and what has happened to the beautiful artistic chess pieces that were part of the chess park that was a public park and was decommissioned, and those pieces were, they were paid for with taxpayer money, and they're quite beautiful. And they certainly could be repurposed in some way if they exist in storage somewhere to be used as art.
Were those funded by the Arts and Culture Commission?
No, probably by the Parks Department.
Okay. Have we made inquiries to them?
Not yet, but I just wanted to bring it up because I wasn't really sure how one goes about, as the Arts Commission, I'm interested, but how to go about. Is that something that could be an agenda item where we could get someone to come and report to us?
Probably not, but I mean, I'm happy to make inquiries and see what I can uncover.
Maybe you could report back at the next meeting then, because it would be really of interest to find out what happened to those.
I'll be happy to investigate and
Okay.
see what I turn up.
Thank you. And that's about it. Next item.
Item 7, written communications. There are none.
Okay.
Item 8, adjournment.
Unless there's anything else, we're adjourned. Wait. Yep.